So now we're recording. We're here with Greg Mercer, the creator of Jungle Scout, which I know a lot of our the people in our course use Jungle Scout. I would say probably 90%, maybe 100% of them are using Jungle Scout for their sourcing, especially effective for wholesale. We know that it's alternatively very effective for people that are getting into private label or looking for products there. There's just a million different ways that it's been super useful for us in our business and for, I mean, look, if you're looking into the chat, we're all just saying we love it. Jungle Scout rocks. It's amazing. So pump your ego up a little bit, right? Definitely good.
Glad everyone likes it.
It's a funny story, actually. We were trying to develop the same thing as Jungle Scout. We literally met a few days and put together all this information. And we're like, we can do this. We can create this software, and then find out that you've already done it and did it much better. Did it much better than we could have done. So that was, and we were delighted to actually find something like that. So,
it probably saved us 1,000 hours worth of work.
Yeah,
trying to figure out how to get it right and get it usable.
Yeah, if anyone has seen that commercial,
and a lot of headaches, right?
Yeah, it's that commercial for that auto app. I can't remember, like whatever, one of these random like Edmunds.com apps or something like that. It's just the literal same thing. We would have developed it and spent all that time, and then found out that you just had a better product and had wasted tons of time and money. So what we'll do to get started is let you just talk a little bit about yourself, because what some people may not know is that you are an Amazon seller yourself and have been selling on Amazon for a while, and basically developed Jungle Scout based on your own needs as an Amazon seller, if I got that story right. And,
yep, that's exactly right.
And decided to unleash it to everybody. I'll let you go ahead and tell your story, how you got started selling on Amazon, what you were doing, and how you grew your business specifically. That can help a lot of people, I'm thinking here.
Sure. So yeah, I started selling on Amazon about 2.5 years ago. It was the beginning of 2013. I started just kind of like fooling around with a little bit of like, they call it retail arbitrage type stuff. At the time, I was still working a corporate job, and I really wanted out. I didn't see the potential to scale there to quit my corporate job. So I started, actually, an uncle of mine already had a established e-commerce business. So he was actually able to help me a lot from the beginning, kind of get connections with wholesalers. And I ended up kind of teaming up with him. Throughout the next year and a half, I scaled just sourcing products from wholesalers. And where I'm at today is, that's still my main business. I'm mainly just still an Amazon seller. Jungle Scout, it's growing and growing, so I spend more and more time on it. But, still just an Amazon seller myself. I have 4 employees that work for me now. We scale into a pretty sizable business. I do some of the, the private label type business model as well. I have that mixed in with my wholesale stuff. And, it's going pretty good for me.
So you're in Australia right now. Is that for business or pleasure?
So my wife and I, we're actually, the new term people like to call us like a digital nomad. So we actually left home back in February, and we've been on the road since. We went through most of Southeast Asia. We're in Cairns in Australia right now, where the Great Barrier Reef is. And we work from our laptops, rent places for a few weeks or a month that has good Wi-Fi, and just get it done.
If that's not the 4-hour work week, I mean, man, okay. So that's fantastic. That's a good sales pitch for trying to convince people to start selling on Amazon, right? That you just
actually
your business.
To be honest, a lot of times I'm hesitant to tell people that, because I don't want to sound like a sleazy, because I feel like that's such like a scam thing to say, like, oh, quit your job and like sit on the beach and drink, So like a lot of times I won't tell people about that. But yeah, we're in Cairns in Australia right now.
That is fantastic.
So what kind of sales do you do currently?
Like what amount of revenue?
Yeah.
I think last month we did 420,000. We were growing quite a bit month over month, but actually kind of towards the beginning of this month, I decided. So it got to be like the bottleneck of my business was I only have one guy to accept orders and send shipments into Amazon and stuff, and that was beginning to be the bottleneck. So I pretty much had the option to either hire another guy, or I decided instead to cut back on some of my low margin products. So this month, I don't think we're going to grow. We'll probably do about the same amount.
That's awesome.
Yeah, but that's a great term, or a great thing I want to point out. And it's the thing that we try to talk to people about is bottlenecks, and trying to be able to identify those bottlenecks in your business or what's holding up your growth. And a lot of times you can hire people to take over certain aspects of your business, and you really see big time growth. And that's certainly the case with us. So you said you've got 4 employees, right? And that's similar.
Yeah. So
to us. Yeah.
So I'm from the States, from Maryland. So I have 2 employees that work for me in the States. I still receive all my shipments there in Maryland. I've got one other guy who's kind of the manager. I kind of hired him to replace me when at the beginning of this year when my wife and I wanted to do some traveling. And then I have 2 people who work for me in the Philippines. So yeah, four people total.
How many people do you have scouting? What are your employees' jobs?
Yeah. So I got, like I said, the one guy in the States, he does, receives all the orders, labels, does whatever he needs to do to get it back into Amazon. The 2 people in the Philippines, one's pretty much strictly does looking at, new products to add, scouting, working with the suppliers, that kind of thing. The other girl, she probably does half of that, and the other half is repricing, profitability, kind of looking at what products we need to drop, or, kind of that kind of plan. So that's it. And then I do, I try to do the least amount possible, the day-to-day operations. I'm trying my best to, teach people all those types of skills, but that's a lot easier than it sounds. I still kind of get, and it's partially probably my fault. I probably need to be better about it, but I still do stuff from here, here and there.
Your employees in the Philippines, your VAs, did you train them personally, or did you take advantage of some other service, or just spend a lot of time with them? What was that process like?
Yeah, I trained them personally. And actually when we started traveling, we started in the Philippines. I hung out there for a month, and I got to meet with them face to face for a few weeks. I think that helped a lot. I think there's a lot of misconception around hiring people in the Philippines. I feel like a lot of people think it's just this, magic bullet, I'll just hire anyone for really cheap. What I want to say there is you really need to do your due diligence, just like you would people from the States. I'll look at 200 applications before selecting 3 people, and then I'll give those 3 people the same task for a month, and then see who does the best, and then keep the best out of that. So, a lot of people say she might not have worked out for me or whatever. And it's well, just like anyone in the States, there's going to be a lot of poor, candidates for that job. And, you might find one good one though. So yeah, I trained them all personally, and I set up kind of a system. So I made training videos. So as we scale, or, if she were ever to leave me, I could pass on this set of training videos, how exactly we do things in our business, to a new employee, and hopefully that'd make the process a little better.
Yep, we've been training. We just recently hired some VAs, and we're trying to get them comfortable, and we've got 2 other employees of ours that work here. They're teaching them and recording videos for them, same type of stuff, and meeting with time difference is a struggle typically.
Sure.
So we try to the best we can meet with them at reasonable times, and do Skypes and stuff. How many times is it?
Twice a week.
Yeah, twice a week we meet with them live for about an hour or 2 hours to do training. And so it's been an interesting experience, and we think it's going to really pay off. We've already started to see that payoff from training them and getting them to help us too. So, and there's a lot of different sourcing tech. So we've started training them with online arbitrage, because we thought that was the easiest way for them to learn, understand Amazon and sourcing products. And then eventually we hope to start showing them how to leaf source, which is the way that we source here internally. It's our wholesale sourcing system. And we'll give them those videos, the same videos that our course members have taken and learned how to source wholesale product the way we have. And will lead us into, and we very heavily in our sourcing process use Jungle Scout actually, and
Nice.
and recommend everyone else to use Jungle Scout. Our business is built, which I think you know, and it's built based on velocity and speed of turn on products, and we're trying like minimum. Typically, it's not a hard set rule, but typically when we carry a wholesale product, we want it to sell about 90 times a month, 3 times a day is a kind of a baseline. And Jungle Scout really helps us get a good idea of how often a product can sell based off of sales rank and the data and metrics that it shows. And we just compare it to how many relevant sellers that we have been able to distinguish on that product, and we can determine what our piece of that pie effectively is. And Jungle Scout's just one of the tools that helps us do that.
Cool.
How many products?
Yeah, sounds like.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. It sounds like you have a similar process as what I do, as far as I mean, kind of what you described there is pretty close to what we're doing as well.
How many products do you currently carry, Greg? Like actively, if you had to guess.
I think it's in the mid 400s. Like I said, though, that's decreasing. Kind of like you said, how you look for something that's going to sell 90 a month. We kind of got bad about that, and we're starting to take on. At one point, we're just growing so fast that I should have had better kind of rules in place about what price we want to take on. We're essentially mostly just looking at a profit margin as opposed to also a velocity. So we had a number of products that were only selling like 5 or 10 a month, and depending on if you can get these from the same suppliers and that kind of thing, most of the time those aren't worth it. I think 90 is a good rule of thumb, and moving forward, I'm going to higher velocity type products like that.
What we found whenever we first, because we've been all over the map too, and it ties up, like when you're getting the lower turnover products for us anyway, it doesn't let us maximize our cash as well, because you still have to take a reasonable quantity when you're purchasing from a distributor or manufacturer. So
yeah, absolutely.
That turnover takes longer, and then it just ties up. If you're processing, let's say you have a product that you sell 10 or 15 a month of, and you're spending, you're going to process 30 to 40 units because that's what you're ordering. Then it just takes so much time processing versus processing 90 units where I'm willing to accept slightly less on my margin.
Yeah,
that's just where we kind of found out that worked best for us and our cash, and utilizing that kind of helped us grow our cash really quickly. We were 1.2 last year, like 1.2 million, and this year I think we'll easily hit 3.5. And and it's not going down; it's just strictly going up. And I think a lot of that is due to that velocity, and we're taking advantage of our processing times.
Yeah, that's smart. Like you're kind of saying, like we talked about earlier, it's good to be strategic about what products you're taking on. Looking at velocity, margins. Like you said, cash allocation is an important part, especially for probably some of your students just starting out. If you have a lot of cash tied up in products that are just sitting there, it's the Amazon storage fees don't really hurt you that bad, but yeah, just having a bunch of your cash tied up in products not moving is what would hurt me worse.
Right. I mean, it's not the storage fees; it's the actually storing the cash thing.
Right.
Yeah. Exactly.
Right. And there's a happy medium that we find sometimes. We have that. I said the 90 products a month. It's not a hard and fast rule. I mean, we're willing to accept something that sells 50 or 60 times if the ROI or margin is much higher on it than normal.
Sure.
Like those are fine too, but typically we do want some sort of decent level of velocity.
What do you think was one of the key things for you to be able to, because you obviously scaled really quickly. I'm sure you didn't start out with a budget to be able to do $420,000 a month in sales.
No.
I mean, if you are, I want to be your godson. But
no, unfortunately, I didn't start out with that. I used to just be an engineer, making like a really mediocre salary. So,
so what helped you scale so quickly?
Tell the truth, I didn't I wasn't able to scale that quickly. Well, I think by the end of the first year, I was doing like 50 or 60,000 a month. I don't know if you guys would consider that, or your students would consider that scaling quickly or not. Really, once I just started hiring people and just outsourcing different parts is when I was really starting to take off. You know, from the beginning, I was even like receiving all my own boxes, repacking them, and sending them in. As far as from the cash side of it, my uncle was kind of my mentor, and I started using some of his suppliers. I don't know if this helped, but I would negotiate pretty good payment terms with some of my wholesalers. So I'd be able to get like 60-day, net payment terms. So that helps out a lot as far as being able to order inventory. You obviously do have to be careful to make sure that, you have to be confident in your sales velocity. If you start kind of, ordering more than you have cash in the bank. But I don't have any super secret hacks for that. Just slow and steady, grow a little bit each month. And then really I found for me, though, that at least at the beginning, just the amount of time I had a day was the biggest thing holding me back. So just bringing on people to the team and just outsource, or delegating different tasks is really when my business started to kind of take off.
Yeah, and I love that point, and we brought it up before too, is just really, you say outsourcing or hiring people or just finding new ways for other people to take over those tasks so you can focus on the really important ones, or the ones that'll help you grow the most. And most of the time, so like whether it's for us, it's getting into a new building or hiring new employees, or for a long time for Dan and Eric, they thought they would worry about it a lot and thought they weren't ready to grow, or they weren't ready to hire that employer. They weren't ready to get that new building. And then they would do it anyway. And then they would see, oh my gosh, this helped us so much. What were we thinking? That was so stupid. And they made that mistake enough times to where they were just, that now that they're kind of just, bam, we're doing this, we're doing that, we're hiring this person, we're bringing this on, we're changing this part about the business. So we've started to understand doing those things really catapults your growth and gets you going.
My new strategy for hiring, I'm pretty sure, is any task I hate doing, I'm going to hire someone for it. Because it's like, it's such a time sink. I mean, I was thinking about it yesterday, and one of my biggest time sinks currently is going through reconciling shipments, going through checking our refunds, and it's like, I just hate doing it. I mean, I hate doing that with a passion. It's not productive. I don't feel like it's productive to my bottom line. It's like I could outsource it, and I could accept 70% of what I'm capable of and actually wouldn't care. So, it's just one of those style tasks. That's my new philosophy is, if you hate doing it, just hire someone. Hopefully they'll be really good at it and enjoy it. And then, you can focus on building. And that's one of our new things is we try to, everything we do now, we're just trying to focus on what is the next building block for our business.
Yeah, if you're at the point in your business where sourcing more products or finding more products will grow your business the most, find someone to help you do that. If you're at the point where you have too much product coming in and you can't reasonably prep it all yourself and get it out on time, and that's holding you back, find someone to help you with that. Just identify what it is that can help you grow the most. And I believe doing something to change that or make that more efficient for you is going to help you very quickly, a lot faster than you ever think that it would.
What was the first task you gave away? The first thing you gave away to an employee?
I hired someone. The first employee I hired was to receive shipments, sticker them, all that kind of stuff. At the beginning, he was even doing a little bit of ordering for me, and then we got kind of busy enough that he strictly was just kind of working like a warehouse type guy. So that was the thing that was at the beginning was taking a lot of my time. I was spending 10 or 20 hours a week or something doing that, and it wasn't the most high value task for me. It was something relatively easy to hire someone for. So that was the first thing I hired.
I don't know what you pay your employee, but effectively when you're doing those tasks, that's the value. Like that's your monetary value at the time.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You're committing it. If they pay them $10 an hour, $12 an hour, you're effectively doing a $12 an hour task for 20 hours a week. And whenever you start thinking about that, clearly, whenever you were able to reapply that skill set, that knowledge and stuff like that, you were able to find a better use for your time and grow your business really quickly. But I think that's particularly key with any business. I just wish we would have done it a lot sooner, to be quite honest. Like we went way too long with not having help on that, particularly on that front.
Oh yeah, I did the same thing. And coming from the corporate world, like I definitely wasn't raised just as awesome like entrepreneur or anything. I had the mindset. Looking back at it, I can identify this. I had the mindset like, oh, I'm saving money by not hiring any employees. I'll just try to do all this stuff myself. And it's really a terrible mindset to have once you have kind of developed a good business plan. You're probably costing yourself money, and at the end of the day, by not delegating these type tasks. So, yeah, I'd probably be like double where I'm at right now if I would have, hired that guy the first like month or two, and then who knows where we'd be at today.
I mean, if you said you're saving yourself money or whatever, but if you're not saving money by hiring that employee, you should potentially outsource yourself. You're not running your business correctly. So it's one of those things. If you think you're good enough to run your own business, you should outsource the tasks that aren't valuable or aren't valuable to growing your business.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So we'll take that and transition it to, at what point in your business did you identify the need to start building a software?
How did Jungle Scout come to be?
How did Jungle Scout come to be? If you can tell that story.
Yeah. So, we're talking about bottlenecks earlier. I just get to there's always a point in my business where, there's a bottleneck. It's like, okay, what's slowing us down the most? And the product research phase, was just taking like a tremendous amount of time. I kind of had all different little types of spreadsheets and no real good way to do it. So one day I kind of, came up with the idea. It's like, man, if I could just extract, all the different product information that I need right away instead of having to like click into each of these pages or whatever. So I started talking to, a developer about it. And I used it for myself for a few months, kind of like a rougher form of it. And then, one day I was kind of showing it to a few buddies and they're like, man, you need to sell this thing. It's like, and at the time I'm like, okay, I'm just an Amazon seller. I've never really been in the software business before, but so that's kind of like a new chapter in my life this year. And it's really fun. I'm enjoying it a lot. The feedback I've gotten from it is just amazing, which is good because I'm a horrible marketer. So it's really good that it just kind of spreads word of mouth. But,
the product's good. The product's good. It sells itself.
Yeah. So yeah, now, now the developer who built Jungle Scout, he works for me full time, working on Jungle Scout. And, actually I've gone a little crazy. I've hired another full-time developer now to kind of build out the future of the Jungle Scout software brand. So yeah, that's a lot of fun.
That's
any insight for what that's going to be, the future of the Jungle Scout brand?
Sure. I can say we're gonna get into the product review area shortly. Especially if you're doing like the private label type stuff, that's just so important. That will never go away on Amazon. And then continue in the product research type stuff as well. I've had a few other kind of custom tools in house. So I'm kind of packaging those into a nice web app, and it'll take a little time. That developing the software always takes a lot longer than I think, as far as just getting it to market. There's a lot more than I think a lot of people, including myself at the beginning, knew about it. But yeah, maybe fourth quarter we should have out some other exciting stuff.
That sounds awesome, man. I actually can't wait for it. I don't even know what it's going to be, and you definitely have a customer.
All right.
Yeah. What are some tips? Can you give us some tips and tricks with Jungle Scout, or just talk about all the different uses or ways that you can use it? So our course members are mostly using it to scout wholesale products and determine velocity for products and get a good idea of what's actually a good product that they should try to capitalize on. And you can talk about that and talk about how it can be used for other purposes as well.
Yeah. Do you want me to share my screen with you and you kind of watch over my shoulder?
Absolutely. It'd be awesome.
All right.
I'm like a kid in a candy store right now. This is going to be awesome.
All right. Can you guys see my screen?
Yeah.
All right, sweet. So I'm at Amazon here. So we'll focus on the wholesale stuff first. So let's think that I just met this company. I have this water bottle sitting in front of me, Hydro Flask. Say I just met them, at a trade show. They seemed like they were willing to work with me. So I think, okay, let me see what kind of products, I would want to sell from them. So I'll, search them on Amazon. I'll click on the brand name here, so Hydro Flask. And then on this page right here, so this is all the products that this company sells that are already listed on Amazon. So I'll run Jungle Scout on this page. And then what I'll usually do is sort by, sorry, the window's in my way. I'll sort by estimated sales. So I'll usually extract all their products. It looks like they have 84. Sort by estimated sales, and then look which products I'd even be interested in selling for them. Sorry, I'm testing a new version here. Let me refresh it. And then, so right away, I'll see, okay, any of these products that are only selling like less than 5 or 10 or 20 a month, right away, I'm not interested in them. Let's wait till this loads here, and I'll sort it and I'll show you. All right, so I got all their first page. I'm going to sort right here by estimated sales. And it looks like most of their products sell pretty well. Besides the exception of, a new cap and something else, all their products are selling well. So this isn't a great example, but normally when you do this, you see a lot of products are selling like less than 5 or 10 or 15 a month. So I wouldn't be interested in those. And probably if I extract another page, I would see some of those. And this right away would give me a good list of products that I would like to speak with them about. I'd like to get pricing on. And so that's one of the main reasons one of the main things I do with it. You guys ever use it like that?
That's actually exactly how we use it.
Yeah, absolutely. And another way we do that where you can extract all that data and all those different products in a line, or to also see that little column right there that tells you if Amazon is carrying it or not, because we do not typically like to go up against those guys. So it's a good way to quickly eliminate certain products too.
Yeah, absolutely. You guys probably don't know about the Pro version yet, do you?
I don't think so. Do you?
Yeah, I just released this like 2 days ago.
Okay. Interesting.
I can show you a little bit about it. I don't want this to be a sales pitch for it, so I'll try to keep that to a minimum. But this is the Pro version I just released a few days ago. So you can see I also now have like number of sellers, the net after the FBA fees, and you can change to show different columns. So now it can show the weight and the product dimensions and all that kind of stuff. And then so I can also filter now and get rid of like all the items that Amazon are selling. I can get rid of all the items that, let's say, sell less than 90 a month. And I can filter those items. And then now I have a list of only the, the products that meet the criteria there. So, and then I can export this list, and this is what I'd send into my like sales rep at Hydro Flask and say, okay, these are the products I'm interested in selling.
Oh, that's fantastic. I imagine Dan and I keep looking at each other like, oh my gosh, this is so awesome. I imagine everybody in the chat that's watching is saying the same thing. So,
yeah. So again, those are just kind of like, the other pieces of the puzzle I needed to, are things that were still taking a while, especially like calculating your net minus FBA fees. That's really useful.
Yeah. We always used a separate tool to do that. With the calculator, there used to be a little widget that you could install on Chrome or Firefox, and that just randomly stopped working recently.
Either Amazon, Chrome, or the Internet Wizard broke it.
Yeah. So now your product.
Yeah.
We would pay.
You stop this. We will buy it. How about that?
Yeah.
You already sold 2 copies.
Yeah, we would pay just for that, just to quickly be able to see what the net is on.
Yeah, I used to have that same little widget, and I know exactly what you mean. Now you have to like copy and paste the ASIN, which it was already taking a little too long. Now it's just really a pain in the butt.
Yeah.
But, So yeah, now extracting more results, you can see here, or sorry, this should have been a minimum of 90. So minimum of 90, we don't want the ones that Amazon sells. So yeah, now we can filter. And then there you go. Those would be all the results from the first 2 pages that meet the criteria. And then, so yeah, it's pretty cool. You know, it shows you like whether it's standard or oversized. So this is like a large standard. This is a small standard. And then there's also like small, medium, and large oversized. So yeah, that'd be one of the things I would do if I already had a wholesaler in mind, like the example we used, Hydro Flask. If I'm just looking for products to sell, actually a lot of times what I'll do is I call it kind of like spying on other sellers. So if you know, for instance, like my wholesale business, we're I'd say probably like 70% of the business is in health and personal care. And I kind of know some of the other like big players in that area. But we'll just use one of these other examples. So what I'll do is I'll go to one of these other like big players in my industry, or even if you don't know the big players, you can just kind of play around the Amazon store and you can find people.
It doesn't take long to identify who the awesome ones are.
Yeah.
Nah, usually always competing on the buy box forum, that kind of thing. But yeah, so I might go to this page. I'd run Jungle Scout, and again, you can extract a few pages worth of data. And again, then right away, you can either sort by the columns or use kind of the little filter tool like I was talking about if you had Pro. But yeah, then you just again get good ideas. Take it from there. So where before I was spending like a ton of time on this, that's kind of the reason I developed Jungle Scout. Now you can spend more time, talking with suppliers and building those relationships, and instead of doing the product research stuff.
How deep will it extract from this page right here? Is it?
How difficult? Sorry, say that one more time.
He was asking, does it extract products just from that first page, or will it extract from their whole inventory?
It will extract from the whole inventory. So if you hit next page, you might have seen the background there. It kind of selected the second page for me. And then the other place, I'll actually a lot of times, if you click this button, it says Yoga Accessories Storefront. Let me get out of here. Actually, this page is usually organized a little bit better than that one I was just on. Amazon doesn't really seem to have like a rhyme or reason how they organize that last page, but this one, it seems like all their best sellers are always on the first page. So
that's a fun tip. Everyone take note of that one. So
yeah, if you click into their storefront, I prefer doing the searches on this page.
I think that's part of your actual personal settings on Amazon, because you can sort by newly listed, blah, blah, blah. And sometimes you can just see what's new going into stock.
Okay, cool.
And yeah, and that's a component in the course that we show is
competitor tracking.
Yeah, we call it competitor tracking, but it's effectively finding people or finding other sellers that have a similar product range that you have, and goals with selling products, and then you kind of track their inventory to pick up or find new products that could be strong for you. And this is obviously Jungle Scout's another way to make that easier. So
yeah. Yep.
You mentioned this isn't a sales pitch. It's certainly not. Like everyone, and like I said, everyone in our group already has Jungle Scout, and everyone was probably going to get the Pro version anyway.
Yeah, if
you didn't even know about
if you want it, you can just log into your account, and there's a little button to upgrade there. It's only $60 one time to upgrade, so it should pay for itself pretty quickly.
Yeah, I've said for a while that Jungle Scout's the best value because it's not a monthly subscription or anything like that. It's just a one-time win the game product. So
yeah, I just I'm having a lot of fun with the company, and I really just want to kind of like build out the Jungle Scout brand. It's like one of those ones that everyone just raves about. It's like it's the best deal, like amazing customer service, awesome product. Like Amazon stuff is still like kind of my bread and butter. So I'm not really trying to get rich off Jungle Scout. Just enjoying the ride.
So what percentage? You said you do a lot of private label and wholesale. What percentage of your business is private label at this point?
From a revenue standpoint, it's probably like 30 or 40%. But it's a lot less products. I only have like 30 something products. So, there's advantages to both sales models. The private label stuff, it's better margins. You can usually, it seems like I can find products that have a little better velocity because I don't end up sharing the buy box. But there's a lot of more work that goes into it on the front end. So yeah, I've gotten into the private label stuff, but I'm still doing wholesale as well. I'm doing both of them.
I think a good mix. I think a good mix helps balance your margins, and that's where we're moving into that phase right there. You're definitely right. It is a beast on the front end. It's just an actual beast.
Yeah, it's definitely a pain. Like coming from the wholesale stuff, I was used to like adding products pretty quickly. Not even have to set up the listings. Like in one day I might find and order like 20 products, whereas the private label stuff, it might take me like 2 weeks of emailing back and forth even to get like my samples ordered. So, it's usually worth it at the end as well. So it's, I enjoyed the mix.
One of the guys in the chat asked, how does Jungle Scout work with shoes? Because of all the variations, etc. We've never actually used it on shoes. I mean, we've never tried to purchase shoes wholesale, so this is actually an interesting question too.
Yeah, I guess I'm not quite sure. What do you mean how it works with shoes? Let's try like Nike running shoes. To be 100% honest with you, I don't know if I've ever searched in shoes either, so this might be new for me.
Right, we'll find out. Yeah, I think he's probably asking about just how there are different sizes, if it's going to pick up the overall rank for all sizes, or if it tells you for each parent or child or how.
I got you. So let me show you guys something about that to hopefully clear up any questions you might have already had or haven't had in the past. So let's see, Amazon. All right. They give this one 511 in clothing. So on some listing, or in some, they do it by categories. In some categories, Amazon will assign one bestsellers rank for all the variations. So an example is like sports and outdoors, like on those yoga mats we were just at. And it looks like they're doing it in clothing as well. So let me show you this. All the variations are shown in orange here. So they assign one rank, 511 in clothing, to all these pairs of shoes. So if you do run Jungle Scout on this page, and you might have just seen it happen, the initial estimate there was like 500. And since they gave all the variations the same rank, the only information that we're given is that total it sells about like 500 for that rank. So Jungle Scout divided that between all the variations. But keep in mind that it's obviously wrong. We're just not given any better data. Amazon doesn't tell us by giving it a different sales rank which of these colors sell best. So really one of these colors could sell like 300, and the rest sell like 10. But unfortunately, we kind of have to deal with, what Amazon gives us. But then the same example in other categories like health and personal care, they'll actually give each variation a different bestsellers rank. So like this one would be 500, but this one would be like 20,000. So in that one, we can estimate sales, for each individual variation. So something to keep in mind there.
Right, yeah, it's just based on you're at the mercy of the data that Amazon will provide you.
Yeah, exactly. I wish we'd get more.
Right, sometimes there's certain kinds of data that they just don't like giving out, or a lot of times there are certain things that Amazon does that we will never figure out why they do it or why they don't.
Oh yeah,
there's plenty of stuff.
This was a question that came up early on a few times. And how accurate would you say that the Jungle Scout estimate of sales is? Like, I'll tell you, our experience.
That's a good question.
Our experience is that It's really accurate in the more in the like 15, 20,000 range. And then it's conservatively low, I think, the as you go towards 1.
Yeah. So they're getting a little better each month. They're good enough for me to do my forecasting off them. So let me give you a little insight about like how we come up with these models and probably help answer this question. So what I do is we built a system that follows about 40 or 50,000 products on a monthly basis. So then throughout a month, we'll collect like over 1 million data points. And what we'll do is we'll follow items on how their rank changes on a day-to-day basis and what kind of inventory they sold through that day. And then from that, you can imagine at the end of the month, we have these graphs with like tens of thousands of data points for each category. I have a data scientist, and she does different types of analyses on these graphs to come up with our models for that month, and then we update them the first week of each month. But I don't have one I can pull up for you right now, but if you were to look at the graph, like for a rank of 200, or for whatever, a rank of like 1,000, you'd see that like some days that rank of 1,000 sold, let's just say like 100 products, and another day that's obviously wrong, but another day it sold like 200 products. So there's quite a bit of variation in the points. And then, from that, we just have to take the averages. And again, it's kind of dealing with the best data that's possible to get from Amazon. I use it kind of like a order of magnitude. It will get you close enough to know whether the product's selling like 50 a month or 200 a month or 500 a month type thing. Don't expect, if it tells you 50 and it really sells like 65 a month, that's well within the ability of it. So
right.
Yeah.
That's what we took away from it too. We actually used it a lot on our first order estimates, and to save us time on basically eliminating products. If something sells 30 times a day, I literally or 30 times a month, I just don't care about it.
Yeah, sure.
Like Dylan said, we care generally around the 50 to 60 mark, and then our target range is more towards 90 plus. But I feel like this tool gets us really, really close in that regard.
Yep. Did you have to throw out the data for Prime Day, or was it more of like a rising tide lifts all boats type day, so you left it in?
Actually, I haven't looked at it yet for Prime Day, so I'm actually anxious to see that. It's pretty cool because we're the only company I know that collects all this data. So like I said, I used to be like an engineer before, so I'm a little bit of like a data nerd. So it's pretty cool to. We're starting to do like some other kind of cool things. Like now we're starting to collect quite a bit of data. We're going to start like preparing a report to send out to all of our users about like how sales are changing per month, and which categories are rising, which ones are falling. Once you set up a system to collect like tons and tons of data like this, you start doing some pretty cool different types of analysis. So yeah.
In your experience, you get you get a ton of data points. What do you think the most high volume category is? And so, just what are some of the higher volume categories in your opinion?
Yeah, let me pull up. I'll pull up a good table for you. Let's see, where is this? Shows.com, I think /BSR table. The home and kitchen is let's see, sorry. So have you guys seen this table before?
I have never seen this table.
We have not. We've always tried to determine depth of a category, not necessarily sales depth, but product depth by doing negative searches in Amazon and seeing how many products are listed.
Yeah.
Currently, that's how we've always did that. But
so that's if you don't have anything better, I guess that's the best way. But I found that's actually really crappy.
Right. We know.
Yeah, because it's pretty crazy. Like some categories, will have a ton of products, but they still don't do much velocity. But yeah, if you don't have any better way. But yeah, if you guys, you can either go straight to this link if you don't want to do the opt-in, or if you do want to opt in, you can go to junglescout.com/rank table. And my data scientist updates this table the first week of every month when we do the analysis for the prior month's data. And I'll send it out to your email if you want it. But yeah, so this is like the 10 most popular categories. So you can see home and kitchen obviously does the most volume. A bestsellers rank of 6,700, and home and kitchen will sell 20 a day. Now, don't get this confused with kitchen and dining. Those are two separate parent categories, even though in Amazon's search box, there's only one option for it. I know some people get that confused. But so yeah, home and kitchen, and then health and personal care. Those are the two largest categories. But yeah, this is a pretty cool table. It will show you relative, what we're looking at here. This bestsellers rank sells 20 a day. This one sells 10 a day, 1 a day, and 1 a week. So it just gives you some basic rank figures to go off of there.
Yeah, and that's fantastic. So that question's come up a lot. People ask us, what do you think that the best categories are, or the best-selling categories? And we've always pretty much said health, personal care, home, and kitchen, and this helps to verify that. And
I think with some of those smaller categories you get into, there's just less competition. So I think every category is viable. It's interesting seeing the data because it's just something we didn't know and something we haven't applied, but that actually holds true for us too, as far as a lot of our product sales.
Yeah, we got the question, is this the 30 days of data or 3 months average data?
This one right here is July's table. So this data was collected June 1st to June 31st or 30th. I don't know how many days are in the month, but and then this was released the first week of July, and then next week we'll release one with all of July's data. So that'll be August table.
Yep. So, and then you can expect things to shift or change seasonally, obviously, like toy and games goes up around November, October, December. Obviously, that will shift to be dramatically different. And I imagine patio, lawn, and garden also changes a little bit seasonally. It's probably a little lower in the winter than it would be in the spring and summer and things like that. So, these things change, obviously, and it's good to be prepared for those seasonal shifts, or that's something that we're trying to get better at, is capitalizing on seasonal.
One of the questions in chat was, do you have access? Is there any way to access old tables to look at quarter 4 last year, for example?
Yeah, so we weren't collecting the information back then. I wish. I've only made this table this is like my 3rd month, I think. If you shoot me an email, or just email us support@junglescout.com, and I'll send you all the tables we already have. But once I have like a year's worth of these, or once my data collection system's been running for a year, that's when I can come up with like some really cool different data and tables and charts and stuff. But yeah, right now I only have a few months worth.
Awesome. There were a few people asking about that, so that helps clear that up. So it'll be interesting. I'm actually interested to see how much toys and games, for instance, does go up in comparison.
I imagine it's going to be astronomically.
Yeah,
just based on our experience.
Right.
We used to be really heavy toys and games, so I'm pretty sure that there were a couple of years where Dan and Eric, when it was just the two of them, you did like in 2 months you would do.
I mean, last year in quarter 4, I mean, we did 1.28 million total. We did 500,000 in December alone.
Yeah, nice.
It gets bonkers.
Yeah, so toys and games obviously very good in quarter 4, and they used to prepare very, very hard for that.
Cool.
Fantastic. Well, the kind of data that you're collecting, I don't see anyone else consistently doing it. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty much you're the only way to get it right now. Has Amazon ever contacted you before? Have you ever gotten an email from Amazon about the stuff that you're doing, or I'm not saying negative or anything, you just them interested in you at all, or?
No, I think I'm still kind of flying under the radar right now. I don't know. We'll see in the future. But, yeah. I wish they'd contact me and I could talk about, you know, legitimately getting all their data.
Right. They're selling Jungle Scout. I mean, they're pretty good at buying companies too. So.
Yeah, there might be a day where
there you go.
Try to drop a bunch of bricks of cash on you.
Hey, that wouldn't be too bad.
Buy you to shut you down, or buy you to sell to people. So that's awesome. We got a question here. It's Greg. Since you are tracking so much data, will you be able at some point to see what items are trending? Is that something that you've got in the pipeline or thought about? Yeah,
we'd like to do that. And that, I'd say within the next couple of months, something like that will be built into Jungle Scout. You know, I'd like to be able to, you know, when you're browsing on the Amazon store, click on, you know, a little button to show you a graph of how it's trending from month to month, whether it's that particular product or the category or both. It's definitely something I could really use in my analysis. So yeah, that's on the feature to add list.
Yeah, that'd be a neat capability as well. Just again, that helps with seasonal products or things that shift. Back to school products right now are good. There's a lot of different backpacks, from backpacks to markers to crayons to pencils to paper. That stuff is doing really well right now, and you can see the trends. And if you could look at those trends, you could know how to capitalize or when to capitalize, or you can, especially when you get that year's worth of data, you'll be able to look back on certain items and see, like, oh, last year this product was just insane, or before Halloween, so I'll buy some in preparation for Halloween.
Right.
Those are critical data points that can help you.
Here's one interesting question, Greg.
All right.
So you said 70% of your sales are in health and personal care. Are most of your so you do a lot of wholesale? Are most of your products direct from manufacturer, or do you go through like distribution? Basically, like where do you tend to find more of your products?
Yeah, so probably maybe like 2/3 of those are through distribution centers, and it's really just two distribution companies. It's really just two of them, and the good thing about that is it's obvious. You know, we just have one point of contact. Both of them are pretty good to work with. And they also give us rebates at the end of the year if we hit certain goals, you know, which is a nice little kicker as well. You don't get as good a pricing, obviously, because, you know, they need to make some money off it as well. But so, yeah, we still get a lot of it through distribution companies. I don't think if I wasn't in health and personal care, though, that seems to be a pretty popular thing in that category. Yeah, like that category. In other categories, there doesn't seem to be those companies as much from what I've kind of seen. But I don't know. What about you guys? Do you get it directly from the wholesalers?
We tend to get it directly from the manufacturer. We ran into one of those situations today. It just actually came up. First time we've ever seen one of the superpower, like we had a distribution rep come to our facility today for another category. And it was a similar thing. There's in the industry he was in, there's 3 to 4 major manufacturers, and all of them sell through this distributor.
Yeah.
He offered the similar thing with the rebates and stuff like that. But in a lot of the categories where we work, most of the distribution has been just terrible as far as just pricing wise. So it's super interesting that you get there with the distribution. It's just never worked out for us.
Right. Yeah, like I said, I think it kind of depends on the category, because that seems pretty popular in health and personal care, where, other ones, it just seems like the prices are ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that just shows you the different ways that you can build your business and that you can be effective. So like we're kind of opposites, where we're almost entirely manufacturer direct, and then you said you do most of your, so what, 2/3 of that is two distributors. So
Right.
Go through a deep inventory catalogs, I imagine. And
yeah.
So what program do you use whenever, or do you actually go through by hand on those giant, because they're obviously huge catalogs. How do you go through that material?
Poorly. That's something I need some software to do better. It's just tough because, you know, some manufacturers are great and they give you these awesome spreadsheets that have all kinds of information. Other ones are like just the product names and like they don't match up on Amazon. I really just kind of do like a case-by-case basis. I don't know. Maybe you guys can give me a tip on this because I feel like I'm horrible at it.
We're definitely even worse than worse than you are. And I don't even know how bad you are at this point. That's one of the things that made us want to go manufacturer direct. Or those catalogs are just so big and daunting.
Yeah, they're brutal.
And you go through page after page after page and never find anything.
Yeah,
That's
why we developed this strategy to source on Amazon. That's where we do our product sourcing instead of going to wholesalers and distributors and going through catalogs and these big inventory sheets and catalogs, because it's like you said, it is so wildly random what you'll get from different distributors or how you'll be able to go through their products. And we were just like, whatever, we'll just go on Amazon and find the products that are good that we want, and we'll try to figure out where we can get those.
Right. And that's what I'll kind of do. Like I showed you with that Hydro Flask example, like, you know, if I developed a relationship with that manufacturer and they want to sell to me, you know, I can go ahead and see all the ones that are already listed on Amazon, what's selling well, and it's much easier that way, less time consuming.
So you do obviously go to manufacturers from time to time and try to get approved for accounts. And what are some strategies that you use or that you implement to get them to approve you? Because sometimes companies or manufacturers aren't as excited about selling to Amazon sellers. That's a big part of our course that we try to teach people how to overcome those barriers in different ways that they can effectively sell themselves to these companies to get approved. What are some that you know of, or any hard and fast rules or tips for getting approved?
I'd say the easiest thing is, all right, it's not an easy thing, but the most effective thing is having a little website and showing them that Amazon isn't your only sales channel. And you can kind of bluff a little bit about what velocity goes through which channels. But, you know, if you think about it from a manufacturer's standpoint, they all know that all their products are on Amazon. They don't capture any more market share by selling to another person that's going to sell on Amazon. Whereas, you know, if you say, okay, I do a lot of sales to this website, they say, okay, well, you know, we have the potential to capture more market share that way. So that's going to be the most effective thing for you. You know, I'm sure you guys probably have some tips for that, but you could set up like a Shopify, a little web store. It's going to take a little bit of time, but it'll probably be worth it in the end.
Yeah, I mean, that's our primary strategy is we have websites. We've even started narrowing them down to we're starting to make niche websites for areas where we're interested.
Yep, that's exactly what we teach in our course and it's exactly how we built our wholesale business and grew it so rapidly. Was just exactly what you talked about. We started off with just one general website. It was a general selling website. It had a lot of different categories under it. And we actually, when we first started, we used the Amazon Web Store built in. That was first of all, it's a terrible product. Amazon Web Store was terrible. The worst program to ever build a website on. Do not do it. You will hate your life.
They shut it down, didn't they?
Yeah, they're ending support for it and closing it down July of next year or whatever. And they've already, it was a piece of junk anyway. But we started doing that. And as soon as we built the website, it was before I officially worked for Dan and Eric. They contracted me out part-time, like work weekends when I was doing my other job, and built them a website and immediately started getting approved like 40% more often than they were before. And then we learned a lot from that. We've built on from that and figured out different ways that You can build niche websites, niche, whatever. I find myself saying both of those words, saying both ways, and it really helps you. Any way that you can provide value or in any possible way is going to help you, and that's what we've tried to teach and present any time that we contact these companies.
Yeah, we ran that bluff. I mean, we run the bluff all the time because obviously, but like I said, probably 85% of ours is manufacturer direct. So we have a lot of points of contact, but that just means we get to run that bluff so many times on how, our volume of sales through our website and we try to represent the website very well too. I think that's super key, making it look clean and somewhere where they would want their product.
Yeah, and we'll do anything to appease the manufacturer. I mean, if the manufacturer wants us to list, because we have a lot of different sales outlets. Like we can sell on Rakuten or Sears, or we applied for Best Buy, but they haven't gotten back to us yet. Like if they want us to, or Amazon Canada, we'll list their product those places if they want it. How many we list?
It's actually just a weird topic too.
Yeah.
Speaking of other places to list their product, does Jungle Scout work, or will it ever work? Or do you ever have any intention of making it work on .uk or .ca or anything like that? Or is it just such a weird data point threshold?
No, we so on UK we now have partial support. Everything works except estimated sales and revenue. Within the next week or two, it'll work on Canada and France and Germany, but no estimated sales and revenue yet. And that's because, like we talked about, that's all the information that I have to collect, through my data collection systems. And I need about a couple of months worth of data before I'm real confident about putting out, some estimated sales equations. I don't just want to give you crap. So, and we have started to collect data though for UK and Canada.
That's awesome.
Yeah, maybe within like 6 more weeks or something, we can get some estimated sales equations for those 2 channels as well. And then, I don't know, maybe the rest of Europe, maybe the beginning of 2016.
Yep. Do you sell on Canada or UK at all? Or are you strictly US?
No, I'm strictly US right now. I have it on my list of things to look into more, but I haven't gotten to it.
Right, yeah, it's similar with us. We're dabbling a little bit here and there, trying to develop strategies. We're going to get into it eventually. It's not something
we're so excited about UK though. Like that market, it looks literally just like a Wild West. So that one's pretty exciting.
Yeah, Dan mentioned it's like he's starting to see Amazon UK looks like Amazon in 2010 or something. It's like Amazon.
Yeah,
cool. 2009, like just this place where you can just make money hand over fist if you can figure out for a while.
I mean, Jungle Scout would be really useful for that, but like particularly for us because like we're looking to one of our goals is to be selling in the UK by 2016. So
cool. Yeah, I figured if the .com store starts to get just too saturated that I don't think it's real viable. It's like there's so many other Amazon channels opening up that are growing really rapidly, just like Amazon was in the early stages. There just seems to be so much potential to me. If you just want to expand in other countries. I mean, don't get me wrong, .com though is still a super great option right now. I mean, it's
I can't ever see it closing. I mean, it's just growing so rapidly, it's more like for us. I think it's the for UK. It's just where I think if you can. They obviously have some pretty big holes in their supply chains there, at least getting it to Amazon.uk or whatever. And I feel like if you can fill those early, then you can really just make a lot of money really fast. So it's more of like a cash grab idea for us.
Yeah.
It just seems like there's so much free money right there.
Yeah, those are some tips for everybody. So we see things like, for what I personally see selling overseas is we actually have a few products and have that we either import from Europe or are based, or the product was like created in Europe or primarily sold in Europe, and they've just kind of tested U.S. markets with it and stuff. And those products, the ones that we've messed with, were just fantastic for us. So I know it has to be the same way in reverse. So there has to be things that are made in America and are only sold in America that people in Europe want so bad, and they'll pay premium prices for. So I know it works both ways, and so it's just finding those different products that that people really want over there.
One of the questions in chat was, what about Mexico? Do you guys have any interest in getting your software up and running for Amazon Mexico? I guess.
Yeah, I mean, at some point we'd like to expand kind of in all of Amazon's markets. It's relatively easy to get everything else working besides the estimated sales and revenue. It's pretty costly to collect all that data and analyze all that data. So I have to see a fair amount of interest in it before I can justify the large cost. So, but yeah, I mean, as it grows, we, once I can start kind of justifying that, then I can start collecting data and paying my data scientists and everything.
So beyond this may be too personal, I guess, but if it is, you don't have to answer it. It's just a question. Going into developing a software, because we've had a few questions in our group about developing kinds of software and stuff like that. What kind of upfront cost is there typically, or in your experience?
Yeah, so a lot more than what I initially thought. So when I first tried to develop some of these pieces of custom software for us, I was trying to outsource some stuff to some of these low-cost areas. I always kind of heard about this. It's like, oh man, I found this guy. He said he can do it for, he only worked for like $8 or $10 an hour or whatever. And I wasted a lot of money that way because I always ended up with crap. I got exactly what I paid for. So now both my developers, one's in Canada, one's in the States, and they demand a pretty high price tag. The going rate for like a good developer is between like $50 and $75 an hour. So you can kind of do the math on how long you think it's gonna take to develop it. But yeah, I mean,
it's not cheap, is what you're saying.
Yeah, it's not cheap for something pretty good quality. If you just want something like really crude, just kind of use yourself that, like might be kind of buggy and slow and that kind of stuff, you might be able to get something cheaper. But yeah, you have to put down a pretty good little chunk of money to get a good quality product.
I mean, I assumed as much. We've tried, like I said, when we were mapping out what it was going to take to create before. I mean, we literally had never heard of Jungle Scout, and we were going to do the same thing. It's like I was getting into projecting the cost, and it was just, oh my Lord, this is not going to be a cheap project. And not only that, it's so time consuming too, because there's that go back and forth, because in your vision of the product, I'm sure it was very hard to explain it first, and then you tweak it and things like that to finally get where you want to be. So, and all that costs money. And it's like every time I've ever been approached about developing a software, I have that apprehension. It is very expensive, and you really kind of have to know what you want.
Yeah, it's a lot different than what most people, understand, including myself when I started. And I also realized that, like I was talking about, if you want something like kind of crude and buggy, it's not as expensive. I feel like it takes like, say like one of my new projects is going to take 2 or 3 months to create. It seems like a developer can get it 90% of the way there in like half the time. So maybe like 1 month. And then I didn't realize that it was going to take like another month or two to like work out all these little like weird like edge cases and bugs and just all this kind of stuff. And that's been my experience now that, so I'll always be like real optimistic being like, oh my gosh, like this thing's almost done. Like, I'm like, oh, well, okay, there's a few little things wrong. And then, yeah, before you know it, you spend just as much time to get it like that final, that final 10%, that final polished product as you did to get it 90% of the way there. So keep that in mind if you choose to do any software products as well.
Okay, I guess here's one more question from us, and then we can move to start taking questions from everybody else.
All right.
So guys, start thinking about what questions you want to ask this guy. He's obviously an awesome guy, does an awesome amount of sales, and has an awesome product. But what other softwares do you use? Or what other softwares have you used in your business beyond, obviously, the development of your own Jungle Scout?
Yeah. So we use App Eagle for repricing. Kind of when I started using repricers, I think it was like one of the only options, or there weren't too many options out there. I just haven't switched because it's what I know. I think there's some other ones that are like cheaper and do just the same thing now. So I'm not like promoting App. I don't know if App Eagle is the best, but it is what we use. We use Restock Pro for kind of forecasting and inventory management. Besides that, just kind of little weird spreadsheets we've developed, like some pretty like complex spreadsheets and stuff. It's an area that I feel like we still do pretty poorly. I've been looking into Techometrics. Have you heard of it?
Yeah, I've definitely heard of Techometrics.
Yeah, I was thinking about switching over to it because it would kind of be like Restock Pro and my repricer and some other spreadsheets all built into one. But I think it's actually like I think it's like a couple $1,000 a month, which if you're doing enough sales, you can justify it. I'm more hesitant about, and it's a really big pain, like switching over all your software products to other stuff. And it's like, man, there's be so many headaches involved with that. So I haven't done it yet, but yeah, those are kind of the two main ones we do for as far as like the day-to-day management of the products and repricing goes.
I'll tell
what
you.
Do you guys?
We use App Eagle for repricing. And we've tried a couple other ones out. Honestly, didn't like them as good. There's
Really?
one that's pretty popular. I forget what the name is, but it charges a percentage of sales, and it's like once you hit a certain sales level, that just doesn't fly anymore. I think it's 1%. Honestly, it's like that just doesn't fly anymore.
Yeah, that'd be a lot.
But so we use App Eagle. We use Inventory Lab for kind of our back end cost tracking. We actually just started using Restock Pro. I worked like 1 million hours last week trying to get everything into Restock Pro. We literally just started using it.
Yeah, that's how stupid we are. The way that we used to do all that manually with Restock schedules and stuff. And I estimate that Restock Pro is going to save us like $1,000 a day.
I mean, like we obviously miss time. Whenever you do that kind of stuff manually and just try to keep track of 1 million different things, you just miss so much.
It's
impossible.
Right.
The fact that this
absolutely
becoming automated is an awesome part of our business. I'm pretty sure those are the inventory labs. Does Restock Pro track cost of goods sold and profits and things like that?
Yeah, and they'll give you your margins. It's a pretty cool piece of software, and it'll give you sales velocity for like 2, 7, and 30 days. Kind of give you an estimate of how many products you should order. So it's a pretty cool program. I wish they'd, I don't know, being like in the kind of the program world now, I'm like, man, if you just did these few other things, it'd be so much cooler. But I also understand how it goes. It takes a lot of manpower to do all that.
You can be the guy and make a better product. You can do it. You can.
Yeah. I need a team of like 10 developers to get all the stuff done that I'd like to do.
I know whenever we put in our Restock Pro information the other day, we placed $34,000 in restock orders that day, just based on what it said. So it's like, imagine how that just means I'm so terrible and not placing these things earlier. It's just like you said, I think it's going to be thousands of dollars a day actually on our bottom line by the time we're up and running with this across a month.
Well, that's really hard to keep track of actually, like inventory kind of forecasting and restocking all that stuff without a piece of software. So yeah, I imagine if you're doing it like a spreadsheet before that, you should get a lot better at it now.
Oh yeah. So I guess we can jump in and start taking some questions from the guys and gals in the group.
Yeah, first one comes from Bob. It's how many hours do you put into Jungle Scout, sourcing, and then sightseeing in a given week? So how do you separate your time? Your Amazon business, your software business, and your
traveling nomad.
Right, traveling nomad.
Yeah. I've actually, like I said, I'm having a blast with the software side of stuff. So I'm actually probably spending more time on it now. Maybe like 30 hours on Jungle Scout, 20 hours on my Amazon business, and then the rest of the time playing. I don't know. I might end up working like that. like when we started traveling, I wanted to be like, all right, 40 hours a week is it. That's all I want to work. But I enjoy it. Like my wife enjoys like turning on the TV at night. I'd rather like open up my laptop and kind of like work on my next product idea for Jungle Scout. It's like what I do for fun. So I probably work more than 50 hours a week. But like I said, it's not really work to me, so I never count it.
Awesome.
The next one is, do you use a collaboration software to automate your processes and workflow? Or did you custom create software to handle that?
Are we talking about like how I communicate with
like a project management software maybe?
Yeah. For my software stuff, I use one called Pivotal Tracker. For my FBA business, we use Basecamp to communicate.
I use Post-it notes. You can believe that. As a web designer, I'm purely Post-it note organized.
Nice.
We've recently started using a program. I'll have to check out the bootcamp program. We've recently started using a program called Asana to manage projects with our VAs and just various like long-term projects within the office.
Yeah, it makes a ton of difference because like email is really a horrible way to communicate and like if you got multiple projects going on, multiple people collaborating on stuff. Something like Basecamp Basecamp's super simple. I'm sure there's a ton of them just like it out there, but it makes things a lot easier to be able to, use something like that as opposed to email.
The next question was, is there a way for Jungle Scout to see more than the first page of the customers who bought this also bought section?
I know what you're talking about, and unfortunately, so you're talking about like when you run it on a product page, how it will only bring up like the 6 results.
Yeah.
No, I wish there was. Again, we're kind of limited by what Amazon will allow us to do, and we haven't been able to find a way to get around that.
Yeah, that's like a little piece of Java or something that runs on the page there. I don't think you could. I'm not sure how you could collect the data for what's on the next.
Right.
That I'm trying to think from a software standpoint too, but I don't know if it's possible.
I'm gonna try to look into it more, but yeah, because I wanted that before. I don't think it's possible.
Yeah, I know the reason why that question got brought up because it's one of the primary ways that we use in our sourcing methods that we teach is finding products and then using that. The customers who also bought to find new derivatives of product that are similar that you can source. So it's just one of those sourcing areas.
Cool.
All right, guys and gals, there's got to be some more questions. We have woke Greg up at what, 7 a.m. there?
No, I forgot. I was actually in Bali when I was emailing you before, and that's 12-hour time difference. But actually, I'm in 14-hour time difference now, so. It's 9:30, so that's a good time to start.
Okay, a little better. All right. Well, we'll probably cut you a little bit loose and stick because I know that you're a busy man, touring the world here, and you've been super awesome coming on here talking with us and helping everybody here. So we'll do one more question because I see a really good question here. So we're gonna do that. We'll cut you loose and we'll stay around with the rest of our members and talk to them a little bit. So. Yep, thank you so much for coming on. So the question is there a plan for a mobile app?
Yeah, it'd be nice to have. We can't do a Google Chrome extension because Chrome doesn't support extensions for phones and tablets and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, we'd like to put something in the works to somehow get Jungle Scout on the mobile device. Maybe like the Amazon search bar be right inside of the Jungle Scout little app. So yeah, it's on our list to look into more.
I imagine that is you're getting into some really complex stuff for that.
Yeah, I saw the gears turning there a little bit. I envision a day here pretty soon where there's some sort of RAOA based scanning mobile app that's Jungle Scout based. I can see it. It'll happen. It'll be revolutionary. So all right. Thank you so much, Greg.
Absolutely. We
appreciate having you. It was awesome. I know everybody's going crazy in the chat thanking you. So you're a fantastic guest. We learned a lot. We learned from you. So we're we told everybody this was partly a selfish thing. We wanted to ask you questions. And pick your brain. We figured we'd let everybody watch while we were at it.
But yeah, I mean, have a fantastic morning, man. This is awesome, and I definitely look forward to the next Jungle Scout style products that come out.
All right, thanks, guys. Thanks for having me. It's been fun.
All right, we'll see you, bud.
All right, take care.
Okay, so everybody else that's still with us here, we'll take some questions related to any Amazon topic that you want to ask us about or poll us about, or things that you've been working with, struggling with, dealing with in the world of Amazon wholesaling and sourcing. And if not, if you don't have questions, then we'll just talk about the things that we've learned this week, or the things that we're going to try to incorporate into our business. So I'll give you a second to create questions or ask us questions about anything specific, which I know that the Facebook group's usually an outlet for that. So sometimes it's a lot easier just to ask us in there too. But how about that?
I'll just start talking. I'll fill any dead silence. That by all means, just keep asking questions. That's I would rather answer your guys' questions than just talk about random subjects. But we talked about earlier in the group, and Greg brought it up too with V8s. Now that's one of the. It's so weird sitting like that, but that's one of the. That's one of the things that I think we can utilize a lot better going forward. Is I can never kick Dylan out of the way. Dylan is way too awesome. But just the cost of labor of a VA has to be so recoupable that I don't see how we can avoid that cost going forward. I think based on what we currently are doing with our VAs, which is like we said earlier in the forums, was we're teaching them OA, but that's because when we hired them, we didn't want VAs that were trained on Amazon. Like we don't want VAs that have an Amazon background, and that's partially because the concern is there for sharing information, and that's honestly the least of my concern. But the biggest part of my concern is that I would have to retrain them, and that's because we have a pretty good bearing for where we want to be, how we're growing, and what kind of tasks we're going to want them to do at some point. And I feel like if I train well enough, I started to say perfectly, but I'm pretty sure you can't do anything perfectly. But if I can train well enough, then they're going to be the exact employee that I want, and that's kind of the philosophy. Whenever we hired Matt, he didn't have much Amazon training. He'd never actually been on Amazon at all, and as far as selling, he bought, obviously everybody bought stuff, but that was just one of the things is I want to be able to train them to be the employee that I want, and trained in our methods, and be able to go from that point forward. So I do realize that people are hesitant to hire employees. I think honestly with such a low cost, I would suggest that maybe you look at you don't have to do it, but look at the tasks that you could potentially outsource if you want to really grow your business, and analyze, could I do those cheaper, or could I simply expand my reach? And a lot of that for us, our end goal is to have leaf sourcing, tons of leaf sourcing going on, tons of sourcing, be able to go through these giant lists and catalogs. Greg brought up a really interesting point that 2/3 of his business come from those giant catalogs. And I know from the group that everybody hates it. We hate going through those catalogs. But if we had VAs doing it, and that's one of the tasks we're starting one of our VAs on tomorrow, is going through those wholesale catalogs. It's at $2 an hour. I can afford $2.50 an hour. I can afford that labor and actually get excited about it. Eric just asked, why don't we use evaluate?
Not all the distributors give us files.
Evaluatable files.
Yeah, evaluatable files. I would actually say that most of the ones that we talk to don't give us files that actually can't, like, are usable to run through Evaluate, which stinks. Like, Evaluate's great to be used in those situations, but a lot of
talk
times.
and feel silence. I'm gonna go get this. I'm gonna go get this giant book we got today.
Yes.
Dylan said the first thing we asked is, can we get this in a some kind of
Digital format?
He said, no, this is not possible. He's like, however, we have our web-based version that he's like, but we don't give it in a printable or sortable format.
It's a search-based.
So look how many products this is. This is insane.
He's gonna go get that big It looks like the Sears and Roebuck catalog or something, like the belt catalog from the 90s or something. It's just this big, huge, amazing catalog. And yes, that's a problem that we run into. Like, it's great when you can have the UPCs or sortable list of a product that you can run through a client, but sometimes you can't do that. Being able to train VAs or get anybody, like typically $2, $2.50 an hour VA, to go through these big inventories or these big catalogs or whatever and find you. They just have to find one good product, and they've effectively. And plus, because in wholesale, those products are renewable sources of income. If they find one good product in this giant monstrosity, Godzilla-size catalogs, it's paid for itself, and then eventually, on top of that, it starts to pay you over and over.
This is the catalog they handed us this morning.
Now, that's not the only one. That was one of 3.
Hang on.
There were more.
And then he was like, well, that's only some of our lines. Here's the next line. And it's like, this thing has this one has 286 pages.
Yeah, and then there was a third one.
This one
that was
has
smaller. The third one.
701 pages.
Yeah.
And then we have a third one that's tiny.
And so
that's 50 pages of product.
My estimation is that in those catalogs, that probably 90% of them, of the products in them, are not listed on Amazon. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it just possibly can't be. I mean, so with that 10% that is actually listed, maybe only 10% of that's good, or even less. So how can I justify my time to go through, 100% of that material? And I just can't. I don't care. If I could find one item that would make me $10,000 a month, it's still not worth my time to go through that.
Yep, and you know that there are a lot of people that work on Amazon or that deal on Amazon that have the same thought, and they look at a catalog like that and just throw it out, and are just like, I'm not messing with that, or it's so daunting or so hard to go through. But if you, as somebody, thinks outside the box and hires a VA cheaply to go through one of those catalogs and finds products, you probably can find big winners in there. Because there's so many people that just wouldn't go through that process.
I mean, I actually wouldn't until we started hiring VAs. I mean, we would just avoid that process at all costs. It's just the amount of time you invest versus the return is just not there.
Yeah, that's why we teach you not to do that, not to go through those. We teach you how to source on Amazon, but you can have VAs do things like that.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what, and that was the point of me bringing up VAs the other day, was to this is enable. I want to be upfront with how we operate and talk about the ideas moving forward. And this is one of our ideas, not only to take advantage of that, but also increase our reach at some point with the products that we buy already. So I think VAs are such a powerful tool, and our experience so far has been, even online arbitrage, which I'm terribly unexcited about for the most part, has been pretty profitable. I mean, we're finding lots and lots of good products. Our VA, but more importantly, our VAs are starting to read an Amazon page and understand it.
Yeah.
Is there a website you can use to hire a VA? Yes, it's called. You should probably just type this one in the chat, but
yeah.
It's. Yep.
Yeah,
Eric got it.
Yeah.
And I even said his name right that time. But it's onlinejobs.ph, and it costs so little just to try one out that I would suggest coming up with a list of tasks that you can have them do and you feel comfortable training, and then maybe starting from that point and hiring one and just learning how to train somebody. That's one of the hardest parts, is And that's what made it take off a bit slower for us, is because, we didn't feel like we could train wholesale because there's so many other things going on. Like, you have to be able to read competition. You have to be able to read sales velocity. You also, because, I'm an online arbitrage, I'm looking to sell 6, 10, 18, 20 of a unit. With our wholesale products, I'm looking to sell 90 units a month for the next six months to a year at least. So it's like I'm much more picky with those products.
Yep, so many moving parts.
And then you got how do you explain, don't look at KitchenAid? Just, there's going to be so much lost time. But I feel like teaching them how to look at an Amazon page carries a lot of value going forward, so we can slowly integrate that process. And the way I look at it is, instead of, whenever you're doing leaf sourcing, whenever you're doing wholesale sourcing, you're essentially taking products away from Amazon to eventually bring products back to Amazon. Then with online arbitrage sourcing, you're only think of it as a one-way road. We're just simply bringing products to Amazon, and this is the same concept with these catalogs. So that's why that's going to be our first wholesale. It's going to be interesting trying to teach them that we want, say, 50 to 100 sales per month, and teaching them what that actually means.
Yep, I saw another question here that was good, and hopefully I can find it again.
I saw a question earlier about palletizing shipments.
Yeah, that was one.
Palletizing shipments, it's one of those things. It's very cost effective. Particularly, here's where you're going to see the biggest change in your cost. The biggest change in cost isn't from just the reduction in shipping. It's the reduction in shipping for larger items. Basically, like if there's an item where I can only fit 4 units in a box, whenever I palletize that, I can fit a lot of units on that pallet, and I'm significantly more able to take advantage of that shipping break, because I was talking to Agus about it, and I think his pallet cost was a bit lower than ours. I couldn't understand that. I mean, just because we were roughly equidistant from our distribution centers, and his average or his single pallet cost was better than ours. But if you do start shipping pallets, one of the most important things, even though it's never happened to us, is whenever you go to declare your value, declare the full value of your shipment. Because if they damage that pallet, or if they lose that pallet, you're only reimbursed for what you declared. So, I talked to Agus about that. And like I said, it's never happened to us, but it's something that I don't want to happen to us, because, when we're shipping those shipments, we're talking about $30,000 to $70,000 shipments on multi-pallet shipments. Barry said it can depend on the actual traffic on that lane in that direction. And maybe we just, or maybe that's the downside of being in Kentucky. So it's or one of the downsides. But so, ours was slightly higher, but still, even doing that, the ability to ship heavy items, the ability to ship large items is very, very, is far easier and cheaper. So if you're, when you get into that, you're looking at at being able to do that at a much more affordable rate. Now, where we tend to save a lot of money on the smaller items, because we carry a ton of the majority of our items are small and economical for shipping. So the majority the majority of our shipments are full of those items. And where we've really saved a lot there is being able to do multi-pallet shipments. Like Barry said, he ships $735 for 12 pallets. Now, if we ship one pallet, it's like $120 for us. But if we ship multiple pallets, it goes down significantly from there. So I think we had some more questions there.
Yeah. So I'm gonna make sure you got to the multi-pallet part. There was one.
But anyway, back to pallets. One of the biggest things, Barry mentioned this. If you ship and not even on here, he actually mentioned in the forums. But if you ship a pallet higher than 72 inches, they will absolutely. Actually, if somebody ever does it and they jerk out the giant roller, I want to see a picture of it. But he said they measured his shipment with the biggest roller he had ever seen. So make sure to keep it under 72 inches. And ours, I think ours is, we always cut ours off at 70 inches. Barry, you ship a lot of pallets. Where do you typically cut yours off at?
Yeah, about 1,500 pound.
So you'll cut yours off at 72.
Yeah.
But yeah, we tend to cut ours off right at 70 just to make sure we don't go over on our. I don't want them jerking out the roller on me.
Right, because we can't count in Kentucky. Things like that. So we gotta leave some margin for error there. So there was a question about do the catalogs, products in those catalogs have UPCs and prices, and that it just varies from company to company, and that's what makes it so frustrating sometimes. Like these catalogs have prices which aren't the prices we pay, which makes it even more confusing. It's like it varies. He told us like those prices aren't what you'll pay. You'll get a varying discount between 20 and 35%, but you have to basically call to ask, and it's like okay, so you don't even really know what you're paying when you're looking at it. And then this catalog doesn't have UPCs, I don't think. Some do.
We actually found this company through leaf sourcing, though. It was, we didn't just call up a random distributor and say, send us your biggest book. It was Matt found a product, and this was such a weird product. It was, we called about it 2 months ago, and they said, well, it's all summer-based products. And so we call and send an email 2 months ago, and then they never responded. And I was like, Matt, call again. Just call them until somebody answers. So he ends up calling, and their exact response was, yeah, man, we'll just get to you when we get to you. This is our busiest time of year. We don't actually care about adding new accounts right now. So today happened to be the day that they sent a rep up to talk to us. And this company just carries a lot of summer products, and that's that was one of the things. And it's so awkward because at this point in the year we're not even going to be able to take advantage of it. But I want to get this account set up, start placing some small orders to be able to take advantage of this later on, particularly next year. So, and that's one of the things we're starting to find with seasonal products. Is we always talk about whenever you're able to identify your weaknesses, that you can, that's not a bad thing. I love the fact whenever I can say I'm horrible at restocking. That's one of the things we do so poorly, and a lot of that is being able to improve on it. And we were talking about it last week, and we do a weekly meeting for 1 hour where we talk about what are we we use worse terms, I guess, but what are we terrible at, and how can we improve that? So that was one of the things is we talked about the top 3 things that we're awful at, and one of them was number 1 was restocking, and it was Matt was like, I spend hours and hours every week going through these, making sure I get my restock orders in on time. And I had heard, somebody had talked about Restock Pro, and I was like, well, just go buy it. I don't even care how much money it is at this point. I just want it because it can obviously save us a lot of money. So we called Restock Pro is really weird. It's based on your Amazon orders, not on your inventory size or how many SKUs you carry or anything like that. So based on most traditional things, we would fit into a really low tier because we don't carry a whole lot of SKUs. We carry a lot, the SKUs we carry are super high volume and we do a lot of orders. But we actually hit the highest tier. But once they realize that if you call them and talk to them, they're going to be pretty flexible. Like instead of giving us a 7-day trial, they agreed to give us this is Restock Pro. They agreed to give us a 30-day trial. So we're able to use that going forward and improve on hopefully improve on our restocking. And I'm actually significantly more hopeful now that Greg talked about it because he obviously encountered the same issue at some point. So I think identifying your weaknesses,
bottlenecks,
and bottlenecks is one of the key things in improving your business. And another bottleneck for us was seasonal products. We are absolutely miserable at taking advantage of seasons, and that's not because we don't try. It's just we find we're a small company and we're time constrained, and everybody in this group, I promise you, in some capacity is constrained on their time. I know a couple of people in this group have quite a few employees, but even those guys, I'm sure, are super constrained on their time and could make more and make improvements in their company. And that was one of ours, was getting better at seasonal products. So we came up with a strategy for seasonal products. And one of our strategies for seasonal products is it's so hard to get these accounts and the products that we want in season because, we're obviously ordering the best of the best. So now we're trying to set up all of our seasonal accounts off season and placing small orders where, they're basically irrelevant, but we're able to keep track of those products. Not only that, it gives us in queue for when we start placing better orders. So, and then maybe we find something that sells year round.
Yep, and that's fantastic advice that Dan's given out there for how we're trying to get into the seasonal game. And we're also trying to just share information with people, and we do certain things really well, and that we have things that we're good at, and we're trying to identify people that do seasonal well and learn from them, and then teach them things that we do well, and kind of trade and grow our business, grow both of our businesses, trading what information that we're good at. They trading those seasonal hints and tips and tricks.
Barry put an awesome piece of advice in the chat here, and that's they want Valentine's Day orders very soon. So look how far we are out from Valentine's Day, and starting to think about these things not in season begins to make more sense. Now, our estimation for how we were going to handle that wasn't based on. That was just based on our assumptions and what we had found, but it made a lot of sense. And I'm Barry, you do a lot of seasonal stuff, right? Or do pretty good with seasonal stuff. Do you find that this is this is, oh, you don't do seasonal. So, well, I assume potentially with the Valentine's Day orders that you might do a lot of seasonal. But it's very hard to predict out what Amazon's going to stock.
Yeah, or that was a joke. Really, the best way to do it is to try to see if it's a product that's existed for a while. Like if it's a Halloween costume that has been around for years, you can try to look up the listing and look on Pride Zombie and Camel and see if they carried it last year. You can try. You just do your best to try to do those types of things and figure them out. And sometimes you'll take a hit. Sometimes Amazon will jump on it. Sometimes they won't. But usually, more often than not, you just try to have more winners than you have losers on things like that.
One of the seasonal things we're doing next year, I feel like we made a big improvement from last year was summer items, and we got into a bunch of summer items early in the year and did pretty well with them. But we want to, we saw that success, and now we want to grow that success. So it's like all the items, this is a kind of an extrapolation of what Dylan was talking about, and kind of an answer to Barry's question was, we don't know what Amazon's going to stock, but we know what items I want to buy right now that I can't. So my goal from there is to be able to set up accounts right now towards the end of summer when nobody's ordering those products, just so I can have them, and I have a list of products that were good last summer, so I can start I can start increasing my orders slowly and see if those items work for me.
And these relationships you build with the vendors are important, because it can come to a certain point where you just talk to the rep and ask them, are you going to sell to Amazon? What did Amazon buy? What are they buying for that season or the seasonal product? And then if you develop a good relationship, they'll tell you, and you'll know what to avoid because you have that relationship with the rep who's giving you that insider trading information. And that's legal insider trading information, right? So
I hope so. If not, you've just admitted to it. And it's actually being recorded. So.
Right. So not, to my knowledge, not illegal. not illegal. Let's see. I saw another good one. Eric, and speaking of Eric's, our Eric actually had a very big dental appointment today. Had some effectively dental surgery. so he wasn't able to be with us today. But Eric Freund had mentioned that he has about 1,000 pairs of, or about 1,000 to 2,000, about 3,000 pieces of product, and about half of them are going to need listings created. And he's just asking about would he use VAs for that, or we currently think of hiring a local person that we would share among our members or members too for creating listings for all these products. My suggestion is for that project, so you have to create thousands of listings for products. Before you ever do it, before you ever start that process, is to create a very efficient process that's going to work. Because in that process, the time is money, basically. Time is valuable. So if you create a process to get those items listed and product, because you're going to need things like photos. If you don't have product photos, there's going to be a station for that. There's going to have to be a person that's doing the listing information. This has to be efficient and quick. So you want to have a great process set up first, so that way, because you're going to be able to create labor has to be tied into your product costs and things there. And if it's a slow process, it's not going to be very profitable for you. So I would just make sure that you spend a lot of time figuring out that process first. However that you decide to go with it, local people, VAs might be a little bit harder for that type of thing, and get it streamlined. And
I mean, it's for us, honestly, those like, we see opportunities where we can buy stuff and create listings, and for us, it's way too intense, to be quite honest. So we don't have a good process because we just never we've never needed one. I mean, I don't think I have the manpower to do it. So, I'm sure there's a lot of profit in it, but I can't. I mean, I could never commit that much energy, I guess, into it. Mm-hmm.
All right, I've got us at 9:30, guys. So we'll go ahead and let you go. Another fantastic webinar. I think this was probably the best. We're getting more comfortable at this. I think we're getting better, maybe.
Well, we can take one more question. And Barry actually said, so Eric, maybe here's something. Contact Barry and let him know what you're looking for in terms of listings. He said he's starting to create potentially a fulfillment and listing creation service. And I know, actually met Barry at the conference, and I can go ahead and tell you that I would trust Barry to do this for me. In fact, if I could outsource it, if I could know 100% that I could outsource these kinds of things to Barry, I might consider doing that kind of stuff. So Barry's he's definitely got a robust staff and super professional guy. No, Jill, we like we said, we do exactly what our videos say.
Yeah.
All the products that we buy are on Amazon, are selling a pretty good sized volume. So
yeah, we've got a couple private label products, and that's those are learning process. Those are to learn private label.
Right, and even as we got a couple of private label products that when we originally had them done, we were putting labels on ourselves, and we hate our life whenever we do it because it takes away from, it's one of those things where you have to outsource it. I have trouble justifying the labor to do these labels, and I can't do it myself. And then, so our strategy for that is we actually hire some kids to come up here and do it. But on our next round of this product, we're making sure to get this part done in China, just so we don't have to do it. So yeah, our process as far as that goes, with listing creation and stuff like that, we just don't do it. That's one of the reasons we don't bundle. We try to stay super streamlined with everything we do, and that's because we feel like, for us, and it's not, this doesn't hold true for all people, but it does hold true for us. Is we feel like that maximizes our cash the best, and labor is cash. So I would say whatever you feel like you're going to get the best return on is to make sure to that's how you should utilize your cash, and that'll optimize your growth to a large degree.
All right, everyone, giving you a thumbs up.
All right.
Thank you very much for coming out today. And we will see you next time.
Awesome.